Jaya Vandiyam Shivu Shi Yuda Padkamnam Shigam Vaishnapam Shan Shirupam Jagajatam Saikam Raghunatam Tam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Sparitam Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jatpate Gopesha Gopakanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamaya Haripri Panchakalpa Visham Kipavim Padnam Pavadyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Mutale Shrimati Bhakti Charaswami Iti Namo Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Mutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvsis Nirvadi Bhaskachari Desatarane. Welcome everyone. So today I will give the third session of a series of lectures on the nature of spiritual compassion. In the last 2 days we tried to understand the meaning of spiritual compassion. That's one thing. We try to grasp or to understand how to act compassionately. So, today we will speak on how to receive compassion. That's important, right? That's what all spiritual seekers want, is divine compassion. So, in my seminar I describe 7 ways how to receive this compassion. And these 7 ways are ways described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that a very old Vedic scripture describing the signs of devotional service. So today I will explain one of these ways. I call them gates to bhakti, gateways to bhakti, how to attain love for God. That unfortunately, tomorrow is my last day of my visit and I will not be able to explain all these ways, but I choose one particular gateway, and this, through my presentation I will try to give you a glimpse of the inner attitudes of a very advanced Vaishnava. And this Vaishnava is Lord Brahma, is the creator of this universe. that and we will go back to the beginning of the creation of this universe. And Lord Brahma is an empowered living entity and is empowered to create living entities in this material universe that and populate the universe. But of course, in the beginning, he felt quite helpless because he was alone. There were no created beings. And at that time, he's praying to the Supreme Lord. He's praying. It's interesting to see what his prayers were about. What was he praying for? Because before these prayers he went to a period of austerities and meditation. That's a whole history. You see that Lord Brahma in the beginning he prayed for 4 things, and that's interesting. He prayed to be protected against the illusory energy. What's the illusory energy? It's the material energy which let us think that we are this body, which let us think we are male or female. That's the illusory energy. And he wanted protection against this illusory energy. And he was praying for specific kinds of protection. He was praying to the Supreme Lord to beware him against pride, against deviation. He was praying for empowerment and introspection. These are 4 things. And we will try to understand what these things what this means. Now he was praying to be saved from becoming proud. Now in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains that there is a process of knowledge, a process how to get knowledge. That's quite different from our academic standards. But this process starts with amanitvam adambitvam. That amanitvam means humble. Knowledge starts by becoming humble, by understanding that I'm not able to understand the Absolute on my own power. That will not happen. Amanitvam adambitvam. And there you have the second quality required to get real knowledge. And that's pridelessness. So this process is explained in Bhagavad Gita in 13th chapter, text 8 to 12. What does pride means? I'm proud. Means I'm taking credit for something. I'm taking credit for what? For the achievements of this body. For everything what this body produces or achieves. Do you have me a copy of the Bhagavad Gita? In Bhagavad Gita, in the 5th chapter, text 8-9, Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna Naivi kinshit karomiti yukta manyeta tattvavit. That translation. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, although knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Krishna says, everything done by the body, you are not doing that. That's done by material nature. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects, and that he is aloof from them. So we are taking credit for things. I desire to move my hand, and I move my hand. Krishna says here, that's not, you are not doing that, Krishna says. You only desire, and the rest is done by material nature. That Prakriti kriyamanani sarvasa yapashyata tatatmanam akartam sa pashyati. The 13th chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, one can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created by material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. So this is very important information. It requires some attention to understand. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya Sam Ritishanivishtamata Smitiganam Apamsha. Krishna says, I am seated in everyone's heart. And for me comes remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness. Everything you know, every knowledge you have comes from Krishna. Everything what you forget also that goes by Krishna. He gives knowledge, forgetfulness, and remembrance. It's all coming from Krishna. So we study at the university and we get the diplomas. But where is the knowledge coming from? It's from Krishna. He gives us knowledge. So he should get a diploma, not you. But we like to take credit for our actions which are not done by us. Yes. So, if we are not a doer, what are we doing? Krishna explains what we are doing. Adhistanam tatakarta karanam sapitak vidam vividas sapitakshasta devam shaivrata panchana. Krishna explains five factors of all action in this world. And the first is adhistanam, the body. The body is acting, which is not us. We are a spirit soul inside the body. So that's not us. Adhistanam tata kartas. Kartas means the doer. Here we are described as the doer. What are we doing? The only thing that the spirit soul does is desiring. In that sense, we are the doer. Without desire, we can contact the material energy. And Krishna in the heart reciprocates. And if we deserve, then he fulfills our desire. And through the body, to the mind, to the senses. The third factor of action is karanam. It's the senses. Things are done by the senses. Seeing, hearing, smelling, all these things. That's also not us, it's the body. Sapritach vidam. Vividas sapritach shasta deivam. Yeah, shasta. There's all kinds of endeavors that comes in the mind. We have so many things that comes in our mind. Desires or proposals to, endeavors is the word. Endeavors to obtain certain things in this world. Why do they desire? Why do they appear in our mind? Because they are unfulfilled desires from previous lives, in this life. And Krishna brings them again to our attention. Here they are again. So, that's Krishna who is acting through the mind, bringing this again into our memory. So that's also not we. That's also not we who are doing these things. So this I'm going into this psychology of the Bhagavad Gita just to show how we are not a doer. We are a spirit soul. And we are different from this body. And if we take, and everything what this body does is done by material nature, which is under control of Krishna. As a super soul in the heart, he is doing things. So this is a very deep meaning. Because normally we don't see things like that. Who thinks like that during the day? I'm not a doer, I'm only that. This means we are all very deep into illusion. We are so deep into illusion that we cannot recognize that we are in illusion. But Lord Brahma is a pure devotee. And his consciousness is pure, is not contaminated. And he sees in this world only Krishna is acting to his form as Paramatma. He sees in everyone's heart. He sees how Krishna reciprocates in the heart with all living entities. Krishna acts as a servant of the living entities, fulfilling their desire. Not only as a servant, as a witness, as a permitter, Anumanta. That is described in Bhagavad Gita. So pride. Because Lord Brahma, he wants to start creating, but he knows I'm going to deal with this illusory material energy. That's very dangerous, this energy. Because to creating means passion, rajas, creating. And he was very much afraid of that. He was very much afraid to be covered by this mode of passion and then thinking I'm the doer. I'm important. Because look what I did. That's pride. And then he was afraid from deviation from his devotional service. Deviation from the path of spiritual advancement. Because if one is influenced by the modes of material nature, one falls into what is called duality. Duality means good and bad, man, female. That body, bodily consciousness. That seeing everything in relation to the body, to the temporal body, that we are not. But in Bhagavad Gita it is said, Yesam tvantratam papam chananam purnakarmanam te tvam tvam nirmukta ajanti mam pritavata. One can only be determined in spiritual life when one is free from this duality. As long as one is influenced by this duality, then one does not have determination for devotional service. Why? Taya parita shetasam. That one's mind is constantly disturbed. Taya parita shetasam. That in the second chapter, Krishna speaks about that, verse 14. Yeah, Bhogasvaya prashaktanam taya prita shetasam. When one's mind is attached to sensual enjoyment, which is a consequence of thinking oneself the body and seeing things in relation to the body as good, that will give me an enjoyment to the body, which is a big illusion, this enjoyment. There is no enjoyment for the body. Because when we are hungry, what does it mean? I want to eat, I want to enjoy. Hunger is a pain in the stomach. And you have to counteract that pain by eating. Then when you eat, the pain is going away. And we think, yes, that's the enjoyment. Now I'm happy. But it's just the suffering which is going away. That Bhogasvaya prasaktanam taya parita setasam. So one's mind becomes bewildered by this duality. And by that one loses his capacity to fix his mind on one thing. Because this duality creates so many desires. One wants to do so many things in mind. And then Lord Brahma, he prays for empowerment. Because he knows very, very well, I'm the so-called creator, the service of creating living entities. But on my own, I'm a living entity. Lord Brahma is a living entity, a soul like me, like everyone here. But he has been put in that position by the Supreme Lord to help with the creation. But Lord Brahma knows I'm not the doer of things, so I need to be empowered. If we want to do things in this world, we need power, empowerment. So he knows very well, Lord Brahma, Krishna is the real doer. I can only be his instrument. So that's the reality. Whatever we do in this world, we can only be the instrument of Krishna. If we think ourselves the doer, then Krishna says you are a vimuda. You are bewildered in illusion. And then at last, Lord Brahma is praying for introspection to create. He was praying for the knowledge how to create again, because he did it in his previous day, the day of Brahma. It means the day of creation and annihilation. Lord Brahma lives a little longer than we. Now, these four things, they were significant for Lord Brahma, but they are also significant for us. Whatever you want to achieve in your life, that first recognizing that everything is done by Krishna. That whatever power we have or we require is by the grace of Krishna. And we can follow in the footsteps of Lord Brahma and pray for these things, to keep ourselves out of the illusion of being the actor in this world, and to get the determination to make advancement in devotional service by keeping oneself out of this bewildering of the illusory energy, and get empowered to do service for the pleasure of Krishna. That if one prays in a humble attitude as such as Lord Brahma, then if one is in that same mood, Krishna will empower him. And Srila Prabhupada followed in that example. Before he came to the West, he went to Vrindavan to pray for success. He was an old man. He was, when he came to the West, he was 70. He knew he could die every moment. But he went to Vrindavan to pray for this empowerment. That this is from Srila Prabhupada at Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. Bhaktivedanta Swami, spiritual master and the previous spiritual master in the disciplic succession, had wanted the Krishna consciousness movement to spread all over the world. And as Bhaktivedanta Swami daily gathered inspiration, sitting before Rupa Goswami's samadhi, he prayed to his spiritual predecessors for guidance. The intimate direction he received from them was an absolute dictation, and no government, no publisher, nor everyone else could shake or diminish it. Rupa Goswami wanted him to go to the West. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wanted him to go to the West. Krishna had arranged that he be brought to Radha Damodar temple to receive the blessings. So, whatever we want to do in spiritual life, and even material life, we need empowerment. If we want to make spiritual advancement, we need the blessings from the Supreme Lord. And these blessings are coming down through His representatives, the spiritual masters, disciplic succession of spiritual masters. Now, when he prayed for these things, what did the Supreme Lord answer? He said, the Lord answered, "O Brahma, the prayers that you have chanted, praising the glories of my transcendental activities, the penances you have undertaken to understand me, and your firm faith in me, all these are to be considered my causeless mercy." So here, Lord Vishnu says to Lord Brahma, yes, your prayers, all your austerities, that your humble attitude, this is all my mercy, Krishna says. And this is something very important, because what do we expect from spiritual life? What's the perfection of spiritual life? That some say it's liberation, that stop this birth and death repeated birth and death, old age and disease. Something that's Krishna's mercy. That. But here, something that perfection in life is to become wealthy. Some others think perfection of life is to attain perfection in yoga and merge with the godly energy. That so many ideas. But here the Lord says it is devotional service in itself. That's perfection, pure devotional service. Like when Lord Nrsingadev was pacified by Prahlad Maharaj, one of his great devotees, his pure devotee. Then the Supreme Lord, Lord Nrsingadev, he said to Prahlad Maharaj, I will give you any benediction you want. I think every living entity would be happy to hear God speaking that way to him. I will give you everything you want. But Prahlad Maharaj, he was not very much impressed. He said, "Oh my Supreme Lord, you know I've been born in a family of demons, and we are naturally inclined to enjoy under the illusory energy. So please do not tempt me, do not entice me with such proposals. Because you are the Supreme Lord. You are my eternal master, and I'm your eternal servant. And that's our relationship. And I feel completely satisfied with that relationship. And that's the perfection of life. To get situated in that relationship with God as servant. Of course, that relationship is quite different from relationships in this material world. If you become the servants from someone in this material world, then big chance you will be exploited like anything. But servant of God means sharing in the transcendental happiness of the Supreme Lord. It's a form of intense happiness, which is unknown to all those under the illusory energy. But this is Krishna's mercy, just this engagement in transcendental loving devotional service, trying to serve God with love. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmaknam Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Kantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. So this verse explains that when one performs a sacrifice for the Supreme Lord, in the Vedic tradition was clarified butter was offered in the sacrifice, then everything used in the sacrifice, the utensils, the fire, the wood, the butter, everything becomes spiritual. So if we engage in devotional service, everything what we do with the body, with the senses, it becomes spiritualized. Like you have iron and an iron rod, and you put it in the fire. Then the iron rod becomes like fire, gets the quality of fire. But this mercy of being engaged in devotional service comes not automatically. We need to perform some penances, some austerities, and cultivate some perseverance, that to be ready for spiritual life, we need to be ready to follow certain principles that brings us out of illusion. That the greatest mistake of the living entity is thinking that he is this body and this mind. This identification is very strong, and this identification is caused by the living entity's tendency to enjoy matter, that seeking happiness in matter, and matter is dead, but still the body is dead. It's not alive. It's the soul that makes it appear being alive. So we should be ready to give up this identification with the body, this false identification. That's an identification which has five causes, main causes. I forgot who I am. And then I'm identifying with the body. Then I'm thinking I'm this body, this is mine. But everything changes in this world. What you think is mine is already changing when you think it. You buy a car and it's changing. You have to maintain it. That's a great endeavor, that you think it's mine. We are here for a little moment, that I'm 50 years in this body. Maybe I will become 70 if I'm in good health, and then finished. It's like a moment in eternity, that I give someone 1 million Swiss francs, and I say, you can have it just for 1 second, it's yours. How do you feel about it? It's the uselessness of this body. And then one thinks this is mine, and then finally one thinks I'm going to die. But that's also an illusion, because the body is not alive. It's the soul that is alive, and the soul leaves the body. That's what's happening, because the body becomes useless. But to understand these things, one needs to be a little austere. If one engages in sex life, unrestricted sex life, then that will strengthen this illusion more and more and more. And one's real knowledge becomes more and more covered. So it needs some austerity, following regulative principles. Don't drink alcohol, because this will strengthen this false ego, making your brain dull. You will even not be able to understand material knowledge, what to think of spiritual knowledge. So that is first required to come out of this illusion. So further, this is a purport of Srila Prabhupada from the Bhagavatam. In executing penance, one must be determined to return home back to Godhead. So you must have the determination, I'm going out of this place. This world is described by the Supreme Lord as Dukkalayam Asashvatam, full of misery and temporary. One must be determined to return home back to Godhead, and must decide to undergo all types of tribulations for that end. Even for material prosperity, name and fame, one has to undergo severe types of penance, otherwise one cannot become an important figure in this material world. That's when one endeavors for something. One wants to study, wants an academic title, a doctorate, a PhD. It's not coming on his own. One has really to endeavor to come to that point. That's also for spiritual matters. For spiritual realization, we need some determination. Why then are there types of penance for the perfection of devotional service? And this is an important sentence. An easy-going life and attainment of perfection in transcendental realization cannot go together. The Lord is more clever than any living entity, therefore he wants to see how painstaking the devotee is in devotional service, how serious he is in spiritual life. And we see how Srila Prabhupada embodied that. He got the order of his spiritual master, which is equal to the order of Krishna, to spread Krishna consciousness in the Western world. And that's the reason why we are here together today. If Srila Prabhupada is not spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, then what would be the reason of us being here? It's because of him that we can now understand this sign of Krishna consciousness. So before he traveled to the West, he has to go to Indian bureaucracy. He translated the first canto of the Bhagavatam. He printed with great difficulties three parts of the first canto of the Bhagavatam. There was, due to the war, there was no paper, so he had to beg the government for paper just to print the books. And then he had to beg for money and from the printer some help to print the books. And then he struggled to come to America. It took 1 year to go to the bureaucracy to get just his passport. He had no money, so Srimati Murari, who was the director of the boat company, the Scindia Steam Corporation, that he gave him a free passage to America. And on the boat, when he was on the boat on the Yaladuta, he got 2 heart attacks. So it was not an easy endeavor for him to come to America. Really painstaking. But then we see on the Yaladuta he prayed, therefore if you desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. So you see here, he's not praying for himself, he's praying for those he will meet and try to give them Krishna consciousness. He's praying for success of his mission. Oh Lord, I'm a puppet in your hands. He does not think I'm the doer. I say I'm just a puppet in your hand. And if one can come to that realization and that mentality, then Krishna will use you as his instrument. I'm just a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, make me dance. Oh Lord, make me dance as you like. So, such dependence on Krishna is required. But that faith is not just based on sentiment. This is based on transcendental knowledge, on deep knowledge. A knowledge that results in understanding that Krishna is doing everything in this world. Yeah. So, also Lord Brahma understood that, and he is praying. This is in the 10th canto, Lord Brahma. My Lord, if one is favored even by a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate in order to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. So this is the inner attitude of an advanced transcendentalist, that this humble prayer for empowerment, for help, that this is from a purport of Srila Prabhupada in the 3rd canto. Srila Prabhupada writes there, Krishna, I'm very poor. I've no means to understand you. Please be merciful upon me. Please allow me to understand you and surrender. So that is what Krishna wants us to do, that we come to that point of surrender. And this point of surrender is achieved when we understand reality. And reality requires transcendental knowledge, which is in Bhagavad Gita, which is in the Bhagavatam. Because why are we suffering? What's the reason? And what should be our attitude towards suffering? We are suffering as a reaction of our past deeds in this life or in previous life. If someone is, I give an example of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, once he was in Toronto and he was giving a lecture, and in the audience was an Indian man. And the Indian man, during the lecture, he started to shout to Srila Prabhupada and he became very angry. And then after the lecture, Srila Prabhupada said to some disciples, said, I must have done something to this person in my previous life, and now I get a reaction. So that is a vision of reality, that if someone comes to you and treats you nasty or whatever, that then we have to understand why is that happening. Because I have been nasty with someone else in the past. So a devotee sees immediately if something bad happens to my body and my mind. It's because I was not such a good person in the past. And then one becomes humble. One understands, yes, the fault lies in me. So if one has that attitude, this attitude is described in the Bhagavatam as Tatenu Kampansa Sumikshama Kunchamya Ivakam Viparakam Vipakva Prubir Vidodana Namaste Chifetyo Mukti Bade Sadayabak. Krishna says in this verse, Lord Brahma says that when one suffers the reactions from his past misdeeds, from his past actions, and at the same time he offers his respect to the Supreme Lord in his heart, then he is ready for liberation. Then it is his claim to go back home, back to God. So that is the qualification. So these are some points which are very important for everyone who wants to make spiritual advancement. And to finish, I will just summarize them. So, in our daily life, we should every day, every moment, pray to the Supreme Lord, please protect me against your material energy. Protect me against the influence of Maya that lets me think that I'm the doer and makes me proud. That's very important. And then pray to the Supreme for empowerment. You want to do, you go to your job, you can do your job for the pleasure of Krishna. And pray for him for empowerment. That many times not only me, but many devotees, you need for your service some information, and you know it, but you cannot remember it. But then you remember at least one thing, that all remembrance is and all knowledge is given by Krishna, and you are trying to serve him, and you need some information that you cannot remember. So you pray to Krishna. You pray to Krishna, please, Lord Krishna, I need this for your service. And see what happens. It happens all the time. Then, sometime later, it pops up in your memory. Krishna gives you the money. You try it out. Then, practice penance and severance in the execution of devotional service. If we are serious in spiritual life, we are following all rules and regulations, and avoid everything what brings us further in illusion. No alcohol, no meat, abstain from unnecessary sex life. This is important. That otherwise, no question of coming out of illusion. That it's the opposite. And then the fourth point I mentioned is develop faith in the greatness of Krishna. See how he is doing everything in the world. Look at nature, how everything beautiful happens. It's Krishna doing that. And then the last point is tolerate all suffering and understand that it is a consequence of, in the past, that I've caused suffering to others. And that's reality. So, these were lessons from Lord Brahma, the creator of this universe, how to get Krishna's mercy. 5 points that may help us. So thank you very much. I think it's 5 o'clock. It's a good timing. I would like to have time for questions, but time is over. So tomorrow evening, I will speak on other gateway to Bhakti. Thank you very much. Shantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.